Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Project Geekology. I'm Anthony and I am joined with
Dakota. Welcome. We're very excited to be here. We're going to be talking all about the DC FanDome experience from last Saturday, and we're filming this a little bit late. So bear with us. We actually did a full podcast about the DC FanDome on Wednesday the 26th, and now we realized the audio was corrupted, so we're going to be re-recording today, and hopefully it'll be a little tighter, be a little more interesting, and we'll have a little bit of a better conversation, I hope. But I think we should talk a little bit about, or just briefly mention, the fact that we lost a fantastic actor this week, Chadwick Boseman. Most notably from Black Panther, Civil War, 42. I still can't believe it. He was way, way, way too young. 43. It's terrible. And the fact that he held that secret of his illness in for 4 years, it's insane.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm actually kind of happy that we have to re-record this because I'm glad that we do get to talk about him and, just talk about how sad it is that we lost. I would say that just seeing some of his interviews, he's definitely a role model to people out there. Definitely someone to look to for an upstanding individual.
Yeah, he meant so much. He meant so much to so many people. It was really heartwarming and just so sad to see what the response was online. You got stuff like this when Stan Lee died. You got stuff like this when Carrie Fisher died. Some of the big players in popular culture that have unfortunately passed at this point. And Chadwick Boseman's right up there with them. We're definitely gonna miss his work, and we're so sad that we're not gonna see any more of it. Much love to his family, his friends, and his fans.
No, yeah, we definitely lost an amazing actor and just individual in general.
Yeah.
With that being said, besides something tragic like that, I mean, how's your week been? What have you been up to this week?
My week's been fine. So when we first recorded this, we talked a little bit about what we were into this past week. And I mentioned that I had read the Thrawn book, and I had finished the first season of Avatar Korra. The first Thrawn book by Timothy Zahn was not a huge undertaking on my part, but it was a really fun listen because I listened to it via Audible. Thrawn is just one of those characters that you love, and that he has this weird sense of justice that he's always trying to uphold. He's always a very tactical person, but because of that, there are points in the novel that are just drag out a little bit because he's such a wordy individual. But it was really fun. I think Timothy Zahn being in charge of the character is really great. And I've finished the first 2 seasons of Avatar Korra at this point, and that's been pretty good. I was less of a fan of the second season. I think that they had a really strong first season. At least that story arc of Amon was fantastic. The second season with Unalaq dragged a little bit. But we'll talk about Avatar Korra in another video entirely. What about you, Anthony? What have you been up to?
As I had mentioned in the previous recording, I also finished the first season of The Legend of Korra. Enjoyed it so much more so than the first time I watched that first season. And I'm about halfway through the second season, and I do see what you're talking about. It's a lot different than the first season. The first season was pretty strong, and so it's definitely, it's a little slower. There's definitely some action, and there's definitely some really awesome bending. That's one of my favorite things about the show. The bending and the way that it's animated is really, really good. And so it kind of continues on with that. That's one of the things I did enjoy, or that I have been enjoying with the second season. Another thing that I got to play through was the Avengers game that is coming out later this year, maybe next month or the following month. And it was interesting when I first saw it in E3 a couple years ago, I was not a big fan. It was a little off-putting. It's all right. I thought it was a lot better.
I've heard mixed reviews from it so far. From the demo, at least. It's not the full game, obviously. But for me, the characters looked a little weird and blocky. Not as sleek as they may look in the movies. And I think we're so used to, the MCU versions of these characters now, the comic book versions of these characters. So to see a different interpretation is a little off-putting at first. That's my impression at this point. Which character do you think was most fun to play as?
The Hulk. The Hulk was really fun. just being able to just like demolish
Hulk smash
everything. Yeah, seriously. The Hulk was really fun. Playing the Hulk is what you would expect. He's just plowing through all these enemies. The thing that I did find a little interesting was the ability to collect and kind of like upgrade your gear or change your gear out. That was interesting.
Did it give you the option to upgrade your powers or change your powers at all, like your power set for each hero, or no?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't go super deep into it, but I do believe I remember seeing the option to upgrade your abilities.
That's cool.
It was I thought it was fun. After a little while, I was definitely getting the urge to hop back into Persona 5.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. The Persona 5 seems to be the better game then. At least from the, comparing that to the demo of this game. But we should probably get into our discussion of the DC FanDome really quickly. Before we begin our discussion, we want to know what you guys thought about the DC FanDome. If you look into our show notes, you'll find a new Twitter handle, @Geekology. We would love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to extend the conversation out to you guys, because it's not just about me and Anthony. It's about geek culture, and we're here not only to entertain you, but to, have a conversation with our fans and with fans of geek culture. So we hope you guys get to talk to us a little bit about that. But Anthony, what do you think your favorite part of the DC FanDome experience was?
It was definitely nice being able to see more of Wonder Woman 1984. That's one of the movies that I've been pretty excited about after seeing the first Wonder Woman. And when they announced that there was a sequel on the way, I was definitely pretty excited, and seeing more and more of it has been really good. And also seeing some of the games like Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights looks really cool, and I think it was the Suicide Squad, or was it just Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Yes, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And that game looked really fun too.
Yeah, so we actually got a lot of footage from a lot of different stuff. Even if it was just concept art, even if it was just animation or whatever. We got a lot of stuff from pretty much every project coming down the line, from both the DC Extended Universe to the video game side of DC FanDome, and even TV. I don't think we're going to be talking too much about the TV side of it here, because I don't think... are you following the TV shows on the CW and stuff?
No, to be honest, I watched through several seasons of Arrow. I did not catch the last couple of seasons. I watched the first couple of seasons of The Flash. Flash was pretty good. Didn't watch too much of Supergirl or The Legends of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I did not catch Batwoman either. I am interested. yeah. Pretty much. But something that I did want to see, I haven't gotten to see yet, is Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mostly because Tom Welling is in it. Smallville.
Unfortunately, he's only in it for a little bit. But
yeah,
it is cool. And I think we should talk a little bit about that, because this kind of ties into our discussion of the DC universe as a whole. But it was actually DC TV, Greg Berlanti and them, who decided that they were going to bring all these variant universes of the DC universe together in this one overarching TV series. Whether you found that it was successful or not, it was a cool concept, and there were parts of it that were definitely cool. Like there was a part where Ezra Miller's Flash met Grant Gustin's Flash, and Ezra Miller Flash from the DC movies, he didn't even have a name for himself yet as a fledgling hero. He didn't know that he was going to be called the Flash until Grant Gustin said,
I'm also the Flash.
You're also the what?
The Flash?
The Flash? The Flash.
So stuff like that is pretty cool because he seeded the name for Ezra Miller's Flash in the DC movies. So it was that idea that kind of struck a chord with the DC movies department, which is currently headed by Walter Hamada. They actually had a whole panel called Multiverse 101. And it was really, really interesting. It seemed like one of the lesser panels throughout it all, but because it had the head of DC TV, Greg Berlanti, the head of DC Comics, Jim Lee, and the head of DC Movies, Walter Hamada, they were able to talk about like the bigger picture of what they were hoping to accomplish. We got a little bit about like how just because the Batman movie coming from Matt Reeves doesn't take place in the DCEU doesn't mean there won't be a DCEU Batman. You know, it's just multiple different Earths, and they're all kind of connected via the multiverse. And I think that's a great idea for their brand in general, because when one might fail, the other might succeed, and hopefully it raises all ships, you know? So I think that's pretty cool. What do you think your favorite part of what you saw from the Wonder Woman 1984 panel was?
It was good to see. It was good to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman again. I think she's great. I think that was a really good casting. She did really well in the first movie, so I'm definitely excited to see that character explored more, that actress as that character used more. It's great to see her pretty much in anything. I mean, to be honest, I think that she was probably one of my favorite parts of Superman versus Batman, and I wasn't a big fan of that movie.
Right. Yeah, no, I think Gal Gadot is like a perfect fit. She may not have like the body type and the physical characteristics of the character from DC Comics, but the portrayal of the role she nails. She's absolutely fantastic for the role, and I love seeing everything that she does with the character. I think Patty Jenkins, too, the director of that film, really gets the character well, and she understands how to portray a strong female character for a new audience, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it was great to have a female director do that anyways, because I think that she brought a fresh perspective to that first movie. It'll definitely be awesome to see her vision, how it progresses in this next movie.
Oh yeah, I'm happy that she's back on as well. What do you think about Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah?
It's interesting because when you first see her character, she has that stereotypical nerdy person that I guess is scorned by the world, mm-hmm. and gets some superpowers somehow and starts, just tearing things up. And so that forces Wonder Woman to stop her. And it shows it in the trailer, but there's going to be instances in the movie where I guess they cross paths, mm-hmm. either before or after this transformation happens. And so I wonder how that's going to affect the conflict, the climax of the movie.
Right. Well, we have a line from Wonder Woman actually saying, like,
Barbara, what did you do?
So she obviously has some knowledge of this person. She's met her before. We saw the scene in I think it was a museum where they're fighting in a gallery. So, and that's before she has her body changed into a cheetah. Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. I think Pedro Pascal as Max Lord is an interesting fit. I have a feeling that maybe he gives her, that's her wish. Because, he's on TV saying, anything you wish, you can have. And I think that's Cheetah's wish, is to, have the powers of a cheetah. And she gets it, and obviously it turns her into a monster. Because, wishing from an evil guy never goes well.
I wonder if he's going to tell Cheetah,
this is the way.
That was corny, and you know it. One thing that I'm really looking forward to is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. It's kind of like a almost sequel to the original, but it's not at the same time. It's kind of like when they decided we were going to ignore Wolverine Origins and just call the second movie The Wolverine. Even though it was actually a sequel, but you kind of just wanted to forget the first one. So I think that's what's happening with The Suicide Squad, because in The Suicide Squad, we get people who were previously cast in the first movie. Yeah, we're going to get people like Amanda Waller and Boomerang and stuff like that to show up again. Obviously, Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, she's the biggest actress in that film. I think from what we saw there, that's like one of the things I'm most excited about, because James Gunn is first and foremost like just such a quirky director. He goes outside of the box to make it as weird as possible for you, but also entertaining. He's not just trying to like weird you out of the movie theater. He's trying to get you to just have a fresh perspective of superheroes and the superhero genre and supervillains, because this is The Suicide Squad. I think that little behind the scenes video was really fun. I think everyone in it seemed like they were having a good time, and it's going to be a big cast.
Oh my goodness. It is humongous. I mean, we're going to be seeing some familiar faces from that first movie. Like you mentioned, Margot Robbie, the actress that played Amanda Waller.
Viola
Davis.
Yeah.
Yes, Viola. So we're going to be seeing Viola Davis, and the actor that portrayed the soldier that led the group in that first Suicide Squad.
I forget his name. Yeah, I
forgot his name too. And so he's going to be in that also. So there are definitely...
So it's definitely a continuation.
A few familiar faces.
Even though they, like, when it was first announced, it was like, this isn't a sequel to Suicide Squad. But it kind of is. Because you can't just ignore everything from the previous movie and still have those characters in the film. So it's kind of a weird pseudo-sequel. Where they probably will do their best not to reference as much as possible from the previous film.
I wonder if they're going to make any references that kind of make fun of that first film. Kind of like breaking a fourth wall in a way.
Like what happened to the Joker.
But not being too obvious. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'll definitely be excited to see Margot Robbie play Harley Quinn again. I think she's great in that role. I think that's another great casting that DC did, and it'll definitely be cool. It was fun seeing her in Birds of Prey. That was definitely a fun movie to watch.
I still haven't checked that out yet, actually. I'm going to have to do that. I've heard good things, and I've heard bad things, but I've heard mostly good things, so I'm excited to see that. Unfortunately, that movie like bombed pretty hard. It didn't really help that coronavirus came a couple weeks later. Let's jump forward a little bit to the next film that we're going to talk about. What did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? You know, the Snyder Cut.
Oh, man. Dude, the Snyder Cut looks amazing. It's pretty much a whole different movie. And from what I had seen in the trailer, I'm thinking that I'm going to like this one way more than I like the 2017 version. The 2017 version just left very little impression on me. I'm not gonna lie. It was a flop to me. And it was definitely a flop, critically and in the box office.
Yeah, I mean, it lost probably about $60 million at the box office. What I think this is like so cool about the Justice League Snyder Cut is the fact that we've already had the opportunity to let our opinions of Justice League subside a little bit, but we still remember the film, at least for those of us who actually watched it. Like we have our memories of that movie. So this is going to be like a parallel universe to that movie, because there'll be some stuff from the Joss Whedon cut of the film, but most of it is going to be like 75% of it's going to be totally fresh. Because if you really think about it, the original 2017 Justice League was mostly filmed by Zack Snyder, and then he had some unfortunate a family crisis that he needed to attend to, and Joss Whedon stepped in, and the studio took that as an opportunity to reshoot a bunch of stuff, cut it down from 4 hours to exactly 2 hours, so that it would it would have more time in the theaters to have more screenings per day. And it didn't really work out for them because the movie just wasn't coherent. It didn't really make that much sense. It was the product of two very different directors trying to make something cohesive, and it just didn't work. So it's exciting to finally get the third movie in Zack Snyder's DC trilogy of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be interesting. I mean, 4 hours, man, that is a beast of a movie, but it might be needed. All that time, or all that extra time might be needed, because I mean, remember, we're coming in with some of these characters not really all that developed. So
true. Like Cyborg, you know nothing about Cyborg. Even the Justice League movie that we got, I don't know anything about that guy except that he likes wearing oversized hoodies.
Yeah, to be honest, like the way that I see it was that movie definitely needed to develop that character, because I mean, unless you've watched Teen Titans, or you've read the comics, or looked into Cyborg's background, I mean, you're not gonna really know much about him.
But even then, like, this is a very angsty version of that. Like, he's like cooped up at home. He's learning all this like random information from the internet at his disposal. He's a very different character, mentally and personality wise, than we got in Teen Titans or in the comics even. So we're going to be getting a lot more of that. Even like Ezra Miller's Flash, we didn't have too much information on in that movie, although he was highlighted far more than Cyborg. And Aquaman too, he's going to be getting a lot more, because a lot of people forget that this is the movie that really like brought Aquaman to the fore. But now that he has his own movie, maybe we don't necessarily need a origin story for Aquaman. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here, Right.
And I actually enjoyed that first Aquaman movie.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a fun watch. And so definitely now, after seeing that movie, I think it'll be cool to revisit Justice League. Well, I mean, with this new cut. So maybe things might mesh a little bit better now that we have that movie, out there.
Yeah, definitely. Are you more interested in seeing this in like 1 hour episodes, which is what Zack Snyder said that they were trying to do on HBO Max, or are you more interested in catching this as a full movie? Because he also says we'd have that option.
I definitely want to see it as a full movie. I think when it comes to something like that, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna cut it when it comes to the 4 hour increments, but I would much rather watch it as a movie. I mean, I'm gonna have to have an intermission at some point, because I mean,
4 hours,
4 hours
yeah,
is pretty long. But I definitely do plan on watching it in its entirety, like at the same time.
Definitely, yeah. I'm there with you, because that was the original intent of the footage, to make it a large, epic movie instead of just. I'm sure it'll be a great 4-part miniseries too. All right, so let's see what else was there at the DC FanDome worth talking about.
Games.
Games.
Got some really cool games.
Talk to me about the games, Anthony. I know that's your forte. Gotham Knights, go.
Gotham Knights? Oh, man. Gotham Knights, I believe it's in the same universe as the Batman Arkham series, but it's not a sequel or anything. It's not connected in that kind of way. But it's really cool, because in this one, we've got 4 characters that we can play, and it's going to be cooperative. We have Batgirl, Red Hood, Robin, and Nightwing, which is really cool. The combat plays exactly or very similarly to how the Arkham series played out. I don't know if you've noticed that, Dakota, like when you watch that footage.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed from the gameplay footage was you could grapple up to, like you're hanging out on a beam or a gargoyle or something, and then you can look down on the enemies below you and, squash them with your boots.
I like that. No, I thought it was cool because they each had like their own combat style, so I thought that was cool. So if you want to switch things up, you can do so. And
Gotham Knights is really cool. Gotham Knights is multiplayer too.
Yes,
you can play a single player campaign until someone else logs in, and you can also jump into a multiplayer mode. So that's going to be an interesting gameplay mechanic, and it might be really fun playing with friends on that.
Yes, for sure. I'm pretty excited. That is coming out,
I think next year.
Did it say, was it next year? The next game that we're going to talk about, we didn't see much footage on it. Well, there's no footage on it. It was just a cutscene. That's because this game isn't going to be coming out until 2022. And that's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, this game also looked really fun. That opening or that cinematic that they showed us was really funny. I thought it was really cool. It showed Harley Quinn, of course, Captain Boomerang, King Shark, and Deadshot. You can switch between those characters.
You could switch between them on a fly too. Like you don't have to like start a new level with this new character. If you're playing through something as Harley Quinn and you feel like, I really can't get through whatever barricade or whatever boss I'm fighting, I can switch over really quickly to King Shark or Captain Boomerang. You could do that, and that's pretty cool. The fact that you could just just take over another NPC beside you. So I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And then you saw that was it Captain Boomerang was like kind of using his boomerang to teleport.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
I did think that was a weird thing when I saw it, but it's cool. They can do whatever they want as long as they still have their signature personality types and humor and power sets.
Yeah, no, of course. And then obviously the cinematic ended off with Superman killing somebody that he supposedly saved from a helicopter crash.
Yeah. Thank you, Superman. There must be something going on. I don't know if it's red kryptonite. I don't know if the entire Justice League is like going crazy or what.
So based off the tagline, Kill the Justice League, I'm going to assume that there's something going on with the Justice League and you're going to have to take him out, because it was really funny because Captain Boomerang was at the end of the cinematic was saying, did we ever find out who we have to assassinate? And then like the rest of them point to Superman and he's like, oh.
Yeah, because it's hilarious because, Superman is like the biggest and strongest in the DC universe, or like he's believed to be. Obviously he's not the actual physically strongest character, but everyone has this reverence for this character. Even the bad guys, like, they don't want to mess with Superman because they know they're probably going to lose.
Right.
Or in the Suicide Squad case, they're definitely going to lose. So it's like a losing battle, but the fact that they actually still have to do it is hilarious. So I'm excited about that game. I actually, of the two games, that one is by far like the one that stuck out to me. I do like the Gotham Knights one just because I like the idea of like you have all of, or at least 4 of Batman's former proteges fighting together to defeat some common enemy. I think that's cool too. But the humor and everything in the Suicide Squad looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Gotham Knights, I like it because I love the Arkham series, so I'm definitely gonna play it. But definitely Suicide Squad, it looks like a different game, so I'm definitely gonna play it because it looks fun. I can't wait to see more of the gameplay.
Let's talk about Black Adam. So, were you able to check out any footage from Black Adam, Anthony?
Actually, that was the one thing that I meant to do, and I could have, but I completely forgot.
Okay, yeah. So last week on Wednesday, we kind of explained that Anthony got off work midday through the DC FanDome experience, and he didn't get to check out all of the panels and everything, and that's probably the biggest one that you missed, from what I'm gathering. And I think it's worth talking about. So we'll just break it down a little bit here. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, it's just him on screen, and they kind of like dive into this cavernous like cave in Egypt, and he's just like standing there at the end, and they zoom in on him, and he's just like, the balance of power in the DC universe is about to change, or the hierarchy of power is about to change. And he's like, really, he has a strong presence on screen, and he's just such a fun guy. Like, everything that he's in, you're kind of interested because he has that charisma on set. But he talked a little bit about the Black Adam, and if you are unfamiliar with the character, it's the first person, or one of the first people, who got to wield the wizard Shazam's power. So he was a slave in Egypt they have like a small animation of like this slave going from, you know, slave to like a powerful ruler of Egypt, because he gets the power from Shazam to basically become judge, jury, and executioner. Like, so he takes justice into his own hands, and he becomes kind of an anti-hero. And eventually this character becomes like the arch nemesis of Shazam, or, you know, formerly Captain Marvel, back when he was called Captain Marvel. Yeah, the Rock seems so excited to work on this project. He's been lined up to do Black Adam for like a decade at this point. So the fact that they're finally able to like put something out into the world, and it actually looks like it's gonna happen, is really, really cool. And you should definitely check it out, because it's just like 2 minutes online. But yeah, the animation looks really cool.
I actually lied. I caught a little bit of that animation in your video.
You liar!
I was watching your reaction video, and you guys were talking about it. I did catch a bit of that animation. You know what that animation reminds me a lot of? That they use in games like Magic the Gathering, where they don't want to fully animate something, but they kind of want to animate it a little bit. Right. It kind of reminds me of that type of thing. But I didn't catch the panel though with The Rock, which I definitely want to watch that panel, because I love watching panels and interviews with The Rock, because yeah, he brings this amazing energy to the screen. Like, he pretty much steals the show a lot of the times. And I love the energy that he brings to like pretty much any character that he plays. I loved him as Maui in Moana. So
also, the animation that they did was, I don't know if you follow him online on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but Boss Logic, he does a lot of posters. He does a lot of like concept art. And he was just like a cool artist at first, but then he started getting used for like the Endgame stuff back in the day. Like, he's a credited artist on like the concept art for Endgame and stuff. So he and his company, who have a huge following online and just like the fandom circles, actually created this animation for Black Adam. So I think that's a pretty cool opportunity, and I'm happy to see him moving on up in the world. But yeah, definitely check that out. I think it's just such a cool little bit of DC FanDome. Before we go any further, what did you think of the FanDome experience as a whole? Like, instead of just what they released or what they told us, like, how do you think it was executed?
I think it was really cool. I think it was really cool how they set it up. The visuals were really cool. They had all these like Zoom calls going on, but it wasn't just a screen of, you know, webcams. They had, you know, it was kind of stylized, and it looked like it was like in a room.
It looked like a big dome, actually.
Yes, it really did. I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to replace the experience of going to a convention, but this is where we are now, and I think that it was a really cool way of, you know, just bringing that news in a really cool way. Because I mean, there are people like you and I that are missing, you know, we miss going to these things. You know, we miss being able to get our news, and, you know, going to panels and you know, just seeing cosplay and all that stuff. I mean, I thought it was really cool that they showed, you know, some costumes and stuff. It was almost like having a convention experience, but from your home.
Yeah, no, I think that's the strongest point of it all is the fact that they were able to make this experience available for everyone, and it was free.
Yeah,
it was a free experience. You know, like sometimes you get like free Comic-Con videos or like panels that are streamed from Comic-Con, but that's very rare. Most of the time you're just getting like news from sources, and then they'll release whatever footage if they want to on YouTube or whatever. So the fact that they just did this freely for the fans,
right?
Apparently, like a couple days ago, Variety posted, this was back in Wednesday, Variety posted an article saying that the live stream event had 22 million people globally log into it at one point or another, and that's a huge amount of people that showed up, and this thing did not crash. So
no, I know, realizing that, and the fact that they had it set up to where, yeah, the thing didn't crash. That's amazing. That's really an amazing feat, because you hear the stories of like a whole bunch of people going to a website at once, and like the website, you know, generally stuff like that happens, it crashes. But the fact that they planned ahead. Yeah, they planned ahead, and they were expecting, you know, a heavy load.
Share the load.
And so they wanted to make sure that the experience was a seamless experience for people to experience, man. It was great.
Yeah, I had to reload the page a few times just because, you know, after like an hour or two of watching a stream on a single like web page, the memory in the computer starts to build up. So just, you know, restart the web page and whatever, and it just went right back to the same spot. So it was really seamless for me. I was very happy with it. I thought that the animation looked cool. The fact that they incorporated like artists from like DC and like writers and all different types of people who've worked on DC projects or are working on DC projects. I think it was a total success, honestly. And it didn't, yeah, you're right, it doesn't make up for the Comic-Con experience or the con experience, but I hope they do these every year. If they never show up at Comic-Con again, I would be a little disappointed. You know, I think have at least a couple panels, but the fact that they were able to show all the stuff that they were working on for free to everyone, that's awesome.
You know, like I applaud them, because with what we had said, you know, we can't go out and experience, you know, a convention. It shows that they care about their fans, you know, enough to set something up that, you know, they got all these stars and well-known people together, and, you know, to be able to interview and talk about the projects that they're on. And I mean, they had just so many people, you know, they had, you know, the heads of, you know, several departments in DC. The fact that they had the ginormous cast of the Suicide Squad,
they all showed
on
up
there. I mean, they all showed up, and I thought that, I mean, just the fact that they all did that, and that just this experience happened, shows that DC cares about their fans, and that just because we can't get out there doesn't mean that they can't do something for their fans.
Mm-hmm. Really quickly, let's go through a few other things before we get to the Batman. Shazam 2 is going to be called Fury of the Gods. I don't know if you caught that panel or not, but it was a really fun panel. It was almost like a Zoom meeting, but they called it Shazoom. It was, you know, corny, but it was hilarious. And I think the point of that panel was for the cast to tease different things that might be coming, but then say, oh no, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that. The entire panel. So it was really fun. It was cool. And then they titled, they revealed the title was Fury of the Gods. So that's cool. And the Flashpoint movie's coming. We're going to have multiple Batmans in that one. We're going to have multiple universes that are being visited. And Ezra Miller's coming back as the Flash, obviously. Ben Affleck is going to be there as well as Michael Keaton's Batman from the old movies.
That's going to be interesting.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Now that we're talking about Batman, let's talk about Matt Reeves, the Batman. Anthony, what? I almost called you Jen there. Oof. Anthony, what is your opinion on the Batman?
Oh man, I know a lot of people, they had their doubts because they saw, you know, Robert Pattinson as the Batman. They're like, oh man, you know, the first thought they're thinking is, you know, Edward from Twilight. Yeah, that's the first thought. That probably most people thought. They're like, oh my gosh, really? They're trying to like destroy a character that I love. But then you watch this, you watch this trailer and you're like, wow, it really wowed me, because it's like, wow, it definitely shows that he has depth. The first time that I came across him was from Harry Potter when he played Cedric Diggory.
Who's Cedric? Your boyfriend?
So I'm a bit more forgiving, because, you know, I knew, like, I've seen him play other characters besides Edward, and so I know that he can play more than just some emotionless vampire.
The funniest joke that I saw online was, it's the worst vampire of all time. It took him 10 years to turn into a bat. But
someone had to.
But no, I think I'm happy that it's Robert Pattinson. I think that he has the gravitas to pull off a role like Batman. I'm worried that he doesn't have the gravitas or the type of character to pull off Bruce Wayne. But we know that he's a good actor. We know that he's been in some fantastic stuff recently, and he definitely is up there, and I think he can definitely handle it. So I'm excited to see what he pulls, out of the suit, as well as what he puts into it. I think we got so little of him. We saw him like step into a crime scene, and everyone like kind of steps away from him because he looks terrifying. Obviously, he looks like a crazy man wearing. If this isn't something that you're used to, a guy wearing a bat suit is a little weird. But then you have the scene where he beats up that one guy for asking, "Who are you?" And he beats the crap out of that guy, and he goes, "I'm vengeance." But what I like about that is that he's not like deepening his voice. He's just like, he's not like Christian Bale where he's like, "I'm vengeance," or Ben Affleck would have like a filter over his voice, like "I'm vengeance," but like with like a metallic filter over it. This is just his voice. This is the second year he's been Batman, and he's new to it all. And he's just got a lot of angst, and he's putting his entire weight into every punch.
Was it strep throat Batman? Didn't really bother me all that much.
See, it actually kind of bothers me. It does bother me a little bit. Like, now that I go back to those movies, like, I get why he does that, because he wants to be anonymous. But, there's got to be a better way to do that than, hurt your throat every time you try to have a conversation in the bat suit.
No, I totally get that. It was definitely, kind of weird because it seemed very just unnatural.
Yeah. Imagine him like trying to order something from like McDonald's, like, "I'll take a number 3 and large fries." What?
A McFlurry.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we got look at that. We have we saw Catwoman. We also saw their version of the Penguin in the trailer. Colin Farrell's playing the Penguin, and he looks nothing like Colin Farrell.
I know, wasn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That's some crazy prosthetics, but it's been confirmed that is actually Colin Farrell, according to the prosthetics department.
Yeah, I saw that, and it's Zoe Kravitz that is Catwoman.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what she does with the role. I like Zoe. She did great in Fantastic Beasts and stuff, so I'm excited to see what she does here. Matt Reeves, he spoke a lot in the panel leading up to the trailer, and he had so much to say about the movie. And you can tell he's so excited to not only talk about the movie, but to get back into filming, because they've been derailed for 6 months. That's exciting. And the fact that the footage that we got was only the first like 2 months worth of filming, that says a lot, because it looked great, it looked super polished, and that could have been a first trailer. Like most times we don't get a full trailer of something until after they they film the entire film, so they have different stuff to work with. But with this, it's just the first couple months that they started filming, basically.
It was cool that they had something to show, though, for sure. I'm pretty sure with the whole COVID thing that filming, has been put on a pause. So the fact that they were able to get something like that together is very impressive.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to see what else they do with it.
All right, well, I think that pretty much covers what we wanted to cover about DC FanDome. There's definitely a bit more to it, especially like the TV shows, and Dakota and I are not really following that, so we didn't think that it was really it wasn't really worth it for us to talk about it. And so we're pretty excited, because next week we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite cartoons, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it's safe to say that if it's not my favorite cartoon of all time, it's up there. Thinking about it, it just brings me back to, watching it when it first aired, and just following that story, and how it was really special to me growing up and watching that. And so how do you feel about that, Dakota? Are you excited?
I caught Avatar: The Last Airbender after it aired for the first time. Jen introduced me, my wife, when we first started dating. and I fell in love with the show. I think it's currently the greatest American animated series of all time. And we'll talk all about why we think that is, or at least why I think it's the greatest American animated series. You might have other opinions.
No, for sure.
But we'll talk about that all in next week's podcast. Thank you again for listening to Project Geekology. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we hope you leave a positive review wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever. Please leave a positive review. We'd love to read your thoughts on what we have to say, and we hope you subscribe for more.
Yes, I definitely appreciate those who listened to our last episode, our 0th episode, our introductory episode, and provided feedback. I'm glad that a lot of you guys enjoyed it, and I really appreciated hearing it from you guys. And so we definitely hope that as we continue to produce more episodes, that you guys will continue to enjoy what we put out. Like I said, this week was the audio was a bit messed up. We're looking to publish each episode on a Saturday, so that we want to have a regular schedule for you guys. And so this week it didn't pan out that way, but we do plan on having our Avatar episode put up on this upcoming Saturday. Any last closing remarks?
I think because this is a DC themed episode, I have to end it with something really corny and DC themed. So, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. They didn't talk about Green Lantern at all, actually, now that I think about it. What the heck? They didn't talk about the Green Lantern project coming down the line. Anyway, that's for another day. Thank you so much for watching. You're listening to this.
There we go.
We
were waiting.
Had to happen. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
Peace out, everyone.